Hey guys, Arpan here. This video is going to be very special because I'm going to show you how to pick 4 to 8 week breakouts that can go up 100% or even more. Guys, I'm very excited to share that I'm planning a live webinar on the complete process of trading power plays very soon. This would cover all aspects of a power play from screening 5-star setups to buying to sell rules, trade management, everything explained with recent examples and also my own trades. So guys, stay tuned and make sure you join my Telegram channel, link below for more updates on this webinar. So what are 4 to 8 week breakouts? These are breakouts from 4 to 8 weeks of shallow consolidation seen in strong stage 2 stocks, especially market leaders that usually make multi 100% run-ups. I first learned this from Manas Arora on Twitter and then eventually practiced, traded, refined it, and made it into my own trading system. So due credits given. If you look at the biggest winning stocks in history, you'll find that many of them had at least one or more of these 4 to 8 week breakouts before they made their huge price gains. This setup is based on the weekly time frame and thus highly suitable for people who cannot give screen time at all during the weekdays. So let's first start by looking at a recent example of Goldium. Goldium was one of the biggest winning stocks in the year 2021. Rule number 1. The stock should be up at least a 50 to 100%, preferably even 100% or more with huge volume. So there should be a demand for your stock. So in this example of Goldium, you can see that it went up from about 25 to 50, that is a 100% move, and that was accompanied by huge volume. Rule number 2, the stock should be in stage 2 without any exceptions, and preferably it should be the first or the second base of stage 2, that is an early stage base. If you don't know what stage 2 is, then please check out my previous video on YouTube. I've already made a screener on that. So in case of Goldium, you can clearly see that after this 100% run up, the consolidation of the base that we are going to look at is clearly an early stage base in the stage 2. Now let's look at the consolidation quality following this huge run up. Rule number 3, urgency of buyers. The consolidation that follows this run up should not exceed 8 weeks. Its duration should be within 4 to 8 weeks, and hence the name of the setup 4 to 8 week breakout. In case of Goldium, you can see it was a 5-week consolidation, after which there was a breakout on the 6th week. Rule number 4, the base or consolidation should be a shallow one, not exceeding 20%, give or take. So in this example of Goldium, it was about 22 or 23%. Note that both of these rules 3 and 4, that is 4 to 8 weeks of consolidation and not more than 20% depth of the base, suggests that there should be an urgency of buyers to pick up the stock and not let it drop further. It is not mandatory for the stock to have perfect VCP characteristics on the daily chart as I usually do, because this setup as such is very tight, and also since it has that urgency of buyers, so I can directly buy at the break of this highest point of the base without the presence of proper VCP characteristics. However, if we do get a VCP in the daily chart, then that would be even more preferable. Well, talking about a VCP, when you look at these 4 to 8 week patterns, you will get this pattern usually in two different shapes. The most frequently occurring one will be the one where there is only this one single cup, which you can see in the example of Goldium. In some cases, however, there will be a small handle of 2 to 3 weeks attached with this cup. For example, if you look at the chart of BEPL, this is BRAC from 2017, you can see that this particular 4 to 8 week breakout also had a 2 to 3 weeks of handle attached with the cup. I'm usually impartial and don't differentiate between the two, but still, if you ask me to choose which one I would pick, I will go for the second one, which has that extra handle, because that means that this setup has gone through that extra one contraction and hence eliminated some more batch of weak holders along the way. Rule number 5. During the period of this consolidation, the bottom of the base has to catch up with the golden line which you see here. This golden line is the 10-period moving average on the weekly time frame. So the bottom of the base has to catch up with this 10 weekly moving average. It doesn't have to stick with it or cut it. It just has to be within a reasonable distance of the 10-week moving average. This rule is not mandatory, but it's there to ensure that the stock which you are looking at and are going to buy is not very extended from the 10-week moving average. Rule number 6, look for a shakeout or a supportive week at the bottom of this base. A supportive week basically means that the particular week, the price closed in the upper half of the range, which means that at the end of the week, it was the buyers who had a clear upper hand. Again, although this rule is not mandatory, but it adds some weightage to your setup. Now coming to the entry, the point to buy this stock ideally would be when it breaks the high of this base, which was around 50 in this example of Goldium. If you want to preempt your entry and manage your risk even better, you can zoom into the daily time frame and look for cheat entries, low cheats, or handles, just like I do in any other of my VCP trades. But from a weekly system perspective, you can buy when it takes out the high of this base. Being a weekly system trade, I would not use a tight stop here so as to give it some room and not choke the trade. I would go with a normal 7 to 8% stop loss on these kind of trades so that I don't have to actively monitor and manage the trade. Here's another pointer. If you can get tight weekly closings within the consolidation or the base, then that adds even more weightage to the setup. For example, in Happiest Minds, just after its primary base, it formed a 4 to 8 week base setup in which we got a series of tight closings Finally, the stock broke out and went on to make a huge price gain. I'm going to come back to this example later on. So after having all these characteristics and finally making for a great setup, Goldium broke out from this 4 to 8 week base. And going ahead, by the end of 2021, it actually made a 350% gain. Amazing. Fluorochem. I'm sure you must have heard about this winner as well from 2021. I first started noticing this stock when it broke out of its primary base, that was around 600, and it went on to make about 100% gain, that was to 1200. For those of you who are not aware what a primary base is, that is the first base that a stock makes after it gets listed. So after making this huge price gain from 600 to about 1200, that's 100%, the stock finally settled in a tight range. And again, it made that 4 to 8 week setup. So in this case, it was 4 weeks of consolidation. If you zoom into the daily, you will also find a clean 2T VCP setup. I actually traded this stock, bought it when it broke out from this base. And after that, it made a huge price move and it went up by almost 150% in the rest of the year. Not only this, it also had a second 4 to 8 week breakout just after this first base, which also gave a good return to the trader. Note the points which I have mentioned. There was a big run up, more than 100%, that was accompanied by huge volume. After that, the base and the price consolidation quality were exactly as I have mentioned, and boom, that led to this huge price gain. Here's an interesting fact. If you look at most of the market leaders in the past, you will find a common pattern. You'll usually see that when they started their stage 2, it started off with first a huge base, they broke out, they made a big price run up like 50, 100% or even more. And after that, they made a 4 to 8 week base setup, a tight one, broke out and made a huge price gain. That is why at the start of the video, I said that if you study most of the historic market leaders, you will find that this pattern is actually very common in their stage 2 run up. Some market leaders are so strong that they can even offer multiple 4 to 8 week base breakouts within the duration of the stage 2 run up. Consider Balaji Amines from the 2020-2021 bull market. If you look at the run up of this stock, it offered multiple such 4 to 8 week breakouts, in the duration of which it multiplied by almost 700% from the first 4 to 8 week breakout which you got in the stock. Prince Pipes. I personally traded this stock exactly at that point. If you look at this around March 2021, it formed that 4 to 8 week setup, caught up with the 10-week moving average, broke out, and also did a pretty good run from here, about 65%. Back to Happiest Minds. This was again a big winning stock in the year 2021. I traded it personally as well. It made a 4 to 8 week pattern, like I said, just after it broke out of its primary base. And then from there, it went on to make a 170% gain in a very short period of time. BEPL, again, this was a very big winning stock of 2017, 2018. I know this example has been shared several times by Manas himself. So the stock broke out after this huge run up and a nice 4 to 8 week setup. And it actually went on to make almost a 400% gain in the rest of the year. Dixon, again, a very popular example, a more than 100% run up, followed by this 4 to 8 week setup, breaks out, goes up 50%. Then we had a COVID crash, puts in this cup with handle, again broke out and went on to become a market leader. PCBL, one of my favorite stocks that I traded myself back in the days in 2017. This stock was probably known as Phillips Carbon back then, offered a nice 4 to 8 week setup, not once, but multiple times, during which it broke out and went on to become a huge gainer. Now let's look at some recent setups that have either already broken out or are in the process of the setup. So global education, something that I've been tracking for very long. It went up almost 200% back in the day in June. After that, it settled in this very nice 4 to 8 week base. This was a perfect setup according to all the criteria that I've shared. It broke out and then went on to make a 200% gain. Back then, however, I think this stock was in the T group, which means that if you buy it, then you have to take delivery if you want to sell. So I obviously couldn't buy it. Artemis, this was a recent breakout. You can see it went up by almost 90%, after which there was a 4 to 8 week setup. And in fact, this is the second variant of the setup where you also get an attached handle along with the cup. After which there was a breakout, and currently the stock is also up 15%. Shanti Gear, of course, we saw its first breakout back in August, September when it broke out of this big base, after which it made a almost 70-75% run up and now is settling into this 4 to 8 week range once again. So something to watch out for. Power India, this stock went up by about 160%, after which there was this 4 to 8 week setup. It caught up with the 10-day, and recently in the last week there was a breakout. Now here's an interesting fact. The stocks that meet all the criteria for a power play but miss the time correction criteria just because their consolidation was a little more than 3 to 6 weeks, maybe 7, 8, or 9 weeks, usually many of these stocks go on to make this 4 to 8 week breakout setup. They break out from that and go on to make huge price moves. So next time you are having a power play that doesn't make it into your list because they missed the time correction criteria and the consolidation went on for a little bit longer than 3 to 6 weeks, then don't delete it from your list, because who knows, that might be your next candidate for a 4 to 8 week breakout and can eventually go on to become a big winner. KRBL, again, there was a 75% run. Then there has been a consolidation where it is settling down right now. Not the best setup, but still something, I'm watching out for. Deep ENR, not sure I'm going to keep this stock in my list because of liquidity issues and all, but just from a pattern point of view, this is the exact second variant of the 4 to 8 week breakout. The one with a cup and an attached handle looks good pattern wise. Triveni Turbine had a nice 100% plus move. Volume is also visible, after which it has been consolidating for about 5 weeks. Looks good. I'm watching it. Let's see if we can get a breakout here. So guys, go ahead, do your research, dig into past winners, do your homework, and find the next 4 to 8 week breakout. Also join my free Telegram channel, that is t.me/iarpank, where I share lots of interesting charts, trade ideas, discussions, and other content, all on priority and at one place. And please don't forget to like and share this video with your friends and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more such videos in future. Bye bye, take care, see you in the next video.